war has always been the mother of invention. A quote derived from the ancient idea that from our most dire needs will man's greatest innovations be born. And through my nerdy gamer brain's uncanny ability to relate just about anything back to my favourite game, dare I say that this applies perfectly to ARMA REFORGER's next update. As awesome as the game is, there is no denying that things need to change. The great supply shortage of 2025, the demands from seasoned players for more teamwork and squad cohesion, and the desperate cries from the front line for fire support. In the coming update, Bohemia have addressed all of this. Now let's just hope that our dire needs lead to the innovation of a solution to these freaking DDoS attacks. Update 1.3 is scheduled for February and will bring with it a supply truckload of changes. Usable mortars, building and vegetation destruction, arsenal items being locked behind ranks, points taking longer to capture, and possibly even mod support for PS5 and more. There are two sides to this coin, vanilla and modded, and these new mechanics and weapon systems will no doubt weigh differently depending on your preference. But today I want to take a look at what I think this means for the future of the game and how it will affect the way battles play out. But even if every prediction I'm about to make in this video ends up being wrong, one thing is for sure: ARMA REFORGER is about to change forever. It's impossible to make accurate predictions about where REFORGER is headed without first establishing where the game currently sits, and in my opinion, the conflict game mode can feel like some kind of multiverse. On one hand, my preferred conflict server that I only recently discovered is a hardcore realism server and more often than not involves teamwork, realistic comms, and somewhat organised pushes on larger maps, resulting in slower but more realistic gameplay that I feel is far more rewarding. And on the other hand, some servers are, well, anything but all those things I just mentioned.
There it goes. There it goes. Oh no, dude! I wanted it to go all the way down the road. Just alerted every enemy on the island.
To sum up the current state of the game, I would say that when the stars align, the conflict game mode can facilitate incredibly rewarding and immersive teamwork-orientated gameplay that can range from full-on realism to casual fun, but unfortunately at present there is a lack of built-in features that encourage those stars to align. The addition of items being locked behind a certain rank will no doubt be a welcome change, as it addresses probably the most common pet peeve in REFORGER at the moment, which is the supply-hungry player who just has to get his anti-tank sniper grenadier spec ops recon battle barbie kit sorted before he can possibly defend the point. But I believe there will be some other knock-on effects of this change that will be just as important. Forcing players to rank up before they can get their favourite kit also forces them to be a contributing member of their team, at least until they get what they want. We have evidence of this in the fact that no one is as valuable to the team as a chopper pilot who needs to rank up to get his bird. However, I also believe that this change will add to the replayability of the conflict game mode and in turn the game's longevity. Conflict matches in some cases can last 2 or 3 days, and so it is easy to play for hours and never see the beginning or end of said match. And I think adding incentive to play the objective will reduce some of those moments when none of your buddies are on and you find yourself in the middle of a field, it's 2 AM IRL, and you have been walking in-game for the last 15 minutes without seeing another soul, and you ask yourself, why am I even still playing? Maybe that's just a me thing, but I have a feeling it's not. I think adding more incentive to progress will fill the gaps for the times when you know you likely won't be there for the end result. Points taking longer to capture based on how many radio towers are connected to them and what is built on the point, in my opinion, is possibly the most overlooked and underrated feature that is coming in 1.3. People will either love or hate this, but allow me to try and sell it to you. If a point takes longer to capture, then there is more time for the defending team to mount some kind of QRF, and more difficult for solo or small groups of players to take the point on their own, in turn encouraging increased teamwork and coordination. Not only this, but the battle itself will last longer and require players to fight in a way that keeps them alive longer, further removing us from these soulless Twitch shooter style engagements that are often happening on points. The length of matches will likely increase even more, and many won't like this, but personally I think it gives more meaning to what you're doing. Call me crazy, but I would love to see matches that last a week or two and feel like you are part of some large conflict that has players coming back each day in their spare time and forming friendships and squads that get together each time they are on. After all, isn't the reason we all love this game so much because it's different? Probably the most anticipated and talked about feature in 1.3 is mortars and destruction, and there is a lot to unpack here. For starters, yes, firing a mortar in Reforger will be somewhat realistic and require you to work out your target's distance and azimuth and then set your mortar according to the type of round you'll be firing. However, this is nowhere near as difficult as I've heard a lot of people make it out to be, especially since you don't actually need to refer to a range card. The game gives you all that information on screen, and you could easily become fairly proficient in the use of mortars in one play session. There is certainly no need for an artillery computer mod like I've heard has already been created. This will simply take away all the satisfaction of actually successfully striking a target with the mortar and undermine all the careful balancing that I believe Bohemia has actually nailed on this one. Like in the real world, mortar rounds in Reforger will have dispersion, meaning a barrage of rounds fired consecutively on the same target settings will all land in different places, as little as 10 meters from the intended target or sometimes up to 50 or more. Mortars in the real world were never meant to be a precision munition. They were designed to have a very lofty trajectory to get up over walls and also to land in trenches, which is difficult to do with artillery as it has a much flatter trajectory, and given the considerably faster fire rate that is possible with a mortar, these things are the embodiment of accuracy through volume. You will need the rank of sergeant to build the mortar emplacement, however at this rank you will only have access to the smoke, illumination and training rounds. It is not until you get to captain that you are able to take fragmentation rounds from the arsenal. I think this is a good move from BI as it allows you to access and use the mortar early on in a non-destructive way that can still be very beneficial to your team. What excites me is the potential for extremely satisfying teamwork that is possible with mortars. In the vanilla game, a two-man mortar team plus a forward observer who are working as one will be a force to be reckoned with. If the team is onto it, they can zero in multiple TRPs before the enemy arrives, and then the forward observer only needs to call for minor fire adjustments from there when the enemy are advancing. Likewise, in the modded realm, drones are slowly but surely coming along with the likes of Armed Drones 3.0, and a mortar team will be able to work in conjunction with a drone team to bracket the enemy to devastating effect. And speaking of devastating effect, neither building nor forest will be safe come update 1.3. When I first discovered that Reforger's destruction as for now will not be modular, I was infinitely less excited about it and actually wondered if the game would be better off if it wasn't implemented. But after playing around with it extensively in the experimental build, I can say the addition of a dynamic, ever-changing battlefield is going to be nothing short of epic, and open up even further the already vast number of ways combat plays out, and in some ways the destruction actually does feel kind of modular. The partial destruction of fences and brick walls, and buildings taking a varied amount of damage to collapse depending on their size. Oh yeah, and being inside a building when it collapses seems to always result in an express trip back to the deployment screen. It's a shame we're not going to be able to blow doors off their hinges or breach a house through a gaping hole in the wall, at least for now, but one step at a time, right? So it's anyone's guess whether these oxygen thieves who are DDoSing Bohemia Interactive at the moment will delay the update, but I think it's safe to say that getting 1.3 out is probably the least of the devs' worries at the moment, and it is likely, given how anticipated this update is, that they will want to make sure the issue is well and truly dealt with before they go ahead. Regardless, I think these coming changes will have a positive overall effect on the game, and the player base will only continue to grow as PS5 players get a taste of them juicy mods. I'm Raiden, and you can keep up with the development of my own mods and play on our community Reforger server via the link to my Discord in the description. Thanks for watching.